So what I want to talk about is GFL, GFL, whatever the hell the organization is. This organization where they're basically just getting anyone and everyone who used to be relevant, used to be a fighter, used to be someone successful in the sport, used to be a big name, used to be someone that people cared about. They're getting all these old vets who just, frankly, again, no one really cares about anymore. And they're offering them big contracts, big paydays to go and fight in like a senior citizen league, basically. Apparently they're trying to do what PFL or IFL used to do. PFL is now IFL, where they have like leagues and seasons and all this weird stuff, kind of like a NFL football team, but with MMA. I don't exactly know how that's going to go or how that's going to work, but the point is they're doing this thing that like every other organization is doing, where they don't want to build an organization or promotion from the ground up and actually build fighters and show them how to use social media and help them become famous and help them grow their audience and get them the proper fights and, develop a promotion in an organization properly. They don't want to do that. They want to just take the fast route, and they want to just sign a bunch of big names who have some sort of fame to them and get them in the ring and profit off them, versus doing the right thing and bringing in new talent and raising that talent up until eventually they're stars. So, and then maybe, if you get some big free agents, you could sign them to the agency too, right? So that's what they're doing. And it looks corny, it looks dumb, it looks try hard, it looks very immature, it looks impatient. It just looks like a big clown show. It looks like an unorganized circus is what it looks like. I really doubt they're going to last. I really doubt they're going to be making any sort of substantial impact in the space. I really doubt that they're going to, I think they're going to run out of investor money. And I imagine once that happens, they're not going to have new investors that are going to want to get on board, because I'm pretty sure they're offering these vets pretty paydays. And unless somehow this turns out to be a giant pay-per-view attraction, or they sell huge gates or tons of merch or something, or they get some sort of huge deal, they're going to run out of money really fast, and it's not going to go well. And so I just think this is a very immature, impatient, try hard, kind of just pretentious organization, where they're just not really willing to do the right things to grow in the MMA space. BKFC is a bit of it's like a spectacle, and it's like a circus show. Okay, it's not like most of the BKFC guys, even the ones that are champions, most of them are failed MMA fighters. They're guys who aren't good enough. That's why I don't take BKFC seriously. It's failed MMA fighters and failed boxers. Even probably the best guy to ever do it in BKFC, even though it's only been around, I think it's been around less than 10 years, but the Juggernaut guy. You go look at his Sherdog, he's a failed low-level pro. He couldn't even make it in low-level organizations at a low-level pro level. He's a failed fighter, basically. But he was a BKFC champion. Recently lost, but it's just a bit. It's just that it's not a real proper sports organization where they're bringing guys and raising them from the ground up. They're getting a bunch of dudes with names who most of them, again, aren't good enough to compete in actual organizations like boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, and MMA, actual sports with proper organizations. They're getting all these retired guys or guys who are free agents. They're offering them big paydays and getting them in, doing a fight. Sometimes it's a one-off, sometimes they might keep that person around. So it's actually been, from what I hear and from what I see, decently successful. But that's because it's BKFC. They're not competing with the UFC. You have to understand, in any organization where they're competing with the UFC, you have to have something different or be willing to do it the right way. There's got to be something that's really attracting pay-per-view buyers, attracting attention more so than the UFC. And again, it's MMA. Unless, if you're going to do real legit MMA and try to compete with the UFC and try to really, raise yourself from the ground up, first of all, that's the only way to do it, is try to come from the ground up. And that can take decades before you can get to a level where you're actually competing with the UFC. they're trying to just hire all these big names who no one cares about anymore and do well in the MMA space, when it's most likely not going to work. It's most likely not going to go well. A lot of these guys have already been knocked out multiple times in the UFC. Most people don't care about them. They don't want to see them. We'll see, man. We'll see how this goes. I don't think it's going to go that well. I think it's going to fail rather quickly. I think that after they lose investors' money, I don't know if they're really going to be getting another round of investors, because again, they're just doing standard MMA. And when you're doing standard MMA, there's no way around it. You're competing with the UFC. So, we saw what happened to Bellator. PFL, kind of same thing. They're making the wrong decisions. They're trying to do these things. They get them at a higher level without just building fighters from the ground up. Apparently there's bad contracts, there's mistreatment. They don't have the right structure that the UFC has. I don't agree with everything that the UFC does, and I think Dana White in some way limits the organization, but he has a good system and a good foundation set. These other organizations don't. That's why you see fighters like Patricio coming out blasting Bellator and now PFL for what they've done. That's why you have these high-level fighters who want to be released and most likely go to the UFC or get, or try to box Jake Paul or something, because they're just getting screwed over in their contracts. They're not fighting the fights they want to fight. Communications apparently poor, and a bunch of other issues. So this GFL organization, thinking they're going to come out of nowhere and just sign all these old vets who have a bit of a name to them, but that no one really cares about anymore, it's laughable. It's laughable. It's the antithesis of what building a proper MMA organization should be. It's just like a fame grab, basically. It's like they're clout. It's like they're clout chasing, basically. I'd be shocked if this works. If it does, I'll admit I was wrong, but I don't think this is going to work. Again, it works in BKFC because BKFC is different. They're not direct competitors to the UFC, right? It's also like, they design it so there's a lot of action. It's bare knuckle, so if you hit someone even just a little bit, it can cause a big cut. There's a lot of blood, and a lot of the guys suck. So one of the reasons, this is a reason no one talks about. One of the reasons, this is something a lot of people don't talk about. One of the reasons there's so many knockouts in BKFC is not because the guys are like super good. It's because they suck. They have no defense, and it's bare knuckle. When you have a combination of all those things together, you're going to have knockouts and a lot of blood, right? And that's because their lack of defense. It's not because they're so good. If they're so good, it'd be a chess match. A lot of fights between fighters that are high level, a lot of them are boring. They're like chess matches, right? They can be slow. They can be drawn out. Eventually, in the last round, the last minute, there's a knockout because the other guy had to calculate and time the guy and figure out his movements. A lot of them, both of them are going to have good defenses. So it's going to be very much a slow, unraveling chess match. Whereas when you get these dumb guys who have no defense and it's bare knuckle, you get a lot of knockouts very quickly and consistently. So that's why BKFC is successful. And again, they're not direct competitors. Karate Combat, which definitely is not as successful, probably anywhere near as successful as BKFC, they're trying to do like a fake karate American kickboxing with a little bit of grappling and ground and pound. And they're trying to do a similar thing where they just get these old, washed up vets to do one-offs or maybe compete in the organization for a little bit and then pay them a certain amount and, go on from there. Karate Combat is a bit of a spectacle, but nowhere near as much as BKFC is. I think an organization like Karate Combat, I don't know how long they're going to be around. I don't know what their financials look like. They don't really seem like they're growing or proliferating in any way, shape, or form. So they're doing a similar model, and it has worked a little bit, but it's a very weird sport. Oftentimes the fights can be boring. Some of them are really exciting. It's kind of hard to understand. They haven't done as successful of a job as something like BKFC has done with signing all the stars. Like they've gotten less famous stars, so it hasn't worked like as much. There's not as many knockouts. It's kicks and a little bit of ground and pound, so it's harder to understand. I do like the wall concept that they have, but it's much harder to understand. They don't have anywhere near as many stars, so they're not doing anywhere near as well. But it has worked a bit because they're not direct competitors to the UFC. I think GFL is going to be gone in like 3 to 5 years. I think either gone or just like in badly need of investors, because I just don't see this working. I think it's wrong. I don't think MMA organizations should do this. That's about it. Let me know what you guys think. Are you excited? Are you excited to see fighters who've already been knocked out 4 times in a row get knocked out one more time, except for 10 years later? Are you really excited to see that? Is this really something that just makes you excited about MMA more so than the UFC? Probably not. Leave your comments down below. We'll have conversations about it down there. Hope you guys have enjoyed. I know I had a lot to say about it, so we'll see what happens. Again, I don't like it. I don't think the guys that are going to be fighting are doing it because they really love it. I think they're doing it because they're probably getting a big payday, and they can do it technically. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it's just going to be watching probably an old vet get knocked out quick, and they take their payday and leave. And that's about it. So, or maybe just 2 senior citizens going to war and just pulverizing each other and increasing each other's levels or chances of dementia. So we'll see how it goes. But anyways, my name is Angelo. This is The Art of Violence. Leave your comments below. Till next time.